Like the worrying and disturbing headline here, children's development put back by years due to failure of special educational needs system. You speak to any SEND parent or anyone who works in a school, they'll tell you this is nothing new. This has been going on for a number of years and just seems to be getting worse to breaking point now. But local government and social care ombudsman says her caseload was now dominated by complaints from families involving SEND provision and schools, with more than 90% of complaints being upheld. The evidence strongly indicates that the system is not working for children, families or local authorities. Resources are a challenge. Many organisations lack vital staff, and in many areas, suitable and affordable support does not exist. Tell us something we didn't know. What is interesting is this massive caseload discussed here only talks about complaints from council supervised maintained schools. This doesn't include state funded academies or free schools. Now, more than 80% of state secondaries are academies, nearly half of all special schools are mainstream primaries. So it doesn't even include anything from those schools, which, if you hear some of the stories of some academies, makes for even more worrying reading. Now, I've worked with hundreds of schools, hundreds of thousands of teachers, and I've never met a teacher who does this job who doesn't want the best for every single child in their care. They want children to thrive. They want every single child to feel supported and reach their potential. But here's the truth. Our system is broken. And we know that, and we see it every day. And we know that is failing students, it's failing families, but it's also failing us as staff. I've been teaching for 17 years, and I'll say there's definitely been an increase in the number of children in our care with additional needs. That has definitely gone up. But do you know what's not gone up? The budget to support those students, resources to help those children, or just people and support staff and external agencies that can help schools support those children. None of that's increased. Class sizes are bigger than ever before. A teacher's workload is more than ever before. Teachers are stretched to the limits. And despite all of this, teachers and schools are still judged on one thing: the progress of those students, the data, the numbers. I cannot tell you how heartbreaking it is when you know teachers and support staff are working more hours than ever before, yet there just aren't enough hours in the day. There's just not enough people and resources in place to give every child the individualised support that they need and deserve, and how hard it is to see that you're working in a system that is failing children. There's just nothing you can do beyond working harder than you've ever worked before, and that's still not being good enough. And I think the point of this video is to try and bridge the gap a little bit between parents and teachers, because I know a lot of parents take the line of blaming teachers and blaming schools, and I get the frustrations, but we are on the same page. We're on the same team. We're not enemies. We both want the same thing, but ultimately the system needs a complete and utter overhaul and building from the ground up. And I see it from both sides. So I've got triplets. One of my sons has just recently been diagnosed with ADHD, and it has taken us years to get that diagnosis. We're talking years. And I just wanted the support in place to help him thrive, because when you've got 3 in the same class, you see it. When 2 are always being praised and given rewards, you can see the impact that has on my son's self-esteem and confidence. At no point during this journey have I ever laid the blame at teachers, because they are just trying their very, very best in such a broken system. And despite that being so frustrating at times, I understand it as a teacher. I'm going to get into too much detail as to what's caused this. I mean, I saw a tweet from someone who blamed parents, a blanket blame of parents, which I just think is so unhelpful and in so many cases just wrong. I will say, I think chronic underfunding of public services over the past 15 years from the government is definitely a contributing factor. I don't think COVID has caused this either. I think COVID exacerbated it. I think this is more down to years upon years of austerity measures, which is now where we're seeing that long-term impact of it. I think what motivated me to make this video is I'm noticing more and more comments on videos that I make from frustrated and angry parents of SEND children, where they are offloading and venting their frustrations, which do not have a problem with, because I get it. I've seen it. I've experienced it myself. What I won't have though are people then accusing me of neglecting SEND students or mocking students, which is so far from the truth. And I genuinely think if you think that's what teachers do or think, you clearly have never met a teacher. My social media content has always been about sharing the good, the bad and the ugly of teaching and trying to find a bit of light in the darkness, because I think if we didn't laugh, we'd definitely cry. You are working with the most hilarious unintentional comedians on the planet, aka children. You are going to have a plethora of stories of funny things that happen, and I find it therapeutic to share them and try and have a little bit of a giggle along the way. And what's always been the purpose behind my social media content is it feels that resonates with so many teachers. And if a teacher who's had a really tough, hard day can have a little scroll through social media, watch one of my videos and have a good little giggle thinking, oh God, I'm not the only one. We all go through the same struggles. Oh, it's not just me. I think that really helps. As I've tried to make out in this video, we are on the same page. As a parent and as a teacher, I see how the system is failing students, and I want that to change, desperately want it to change, and will be as outspoken as possible to bring the necessary reforms so every child can get the support, the individualized help that they need.